What's up, everybody? In this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 best things about owning a record store. On YouTube, oftentimes it falls into this awful void of negativity, gets clicks and views. I've noticed it on my channel, I noticed it on many other channels, and while sometimes those videos can be fun to watch and make, it's not always the best thing to put out there into the world. So I'm going to switch gears for a minute and talk about the great things about owning a record store, not the worst things stores do or the worst things in this hobby, the things that generate outrage, even though it may be justified. I'm going to talk about why I love my job. And I genuinely do love my job. It's wild to go from having worked jobs for many years that I had no attachment to, didn't bring me any personal joy, kind of felt very routine, just going through the motions every single day, to now going to a job where I feel excited every day, not knowing what's going to walk through the door, whether it's an interesting person, interesting collection, whatever it may be. There's obvious reasons why I love this job, and I'm going to outline the 5 biggest reasons for you right now. If you're new to this channel, my name is Matt. I own a record store called Too Many Records here in Portland, Oregon. We had our 2-year anniversary in May, and we are barreling towards our 3-year as we continue to try to build our community out here. So I'm going to share with you my top 5 reasons. If you like this video, please leave a comment below with your thoughts on this. If you have any questions for me as a record store owner, I'm happy to answer them. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. You can also hit that little bell so you don't miss it on anything that I put out. The first reason I love owning my record store is that I get to work with some of my close friends. I mean, I've always had friends at jobs I've worked at, and that's fine, but it's a small staff at TMR. There's 3 of us, and it's some of my best friends, I get to work with Goose, who is just someone that's so important to me, and I've really grown to love and appreciate over the past 2+ years working together. It's just a real joy to work with him at the shop and day in and day out get to kind of, build our friendship, our inside jokes, whatever it may be, while simultaneously working together to make the shop amazing. And then part-time, I had Austin for all of this year. He recently left. He had another job opportunity that he couldn't pass up, and I don't blame him. But Austin's a good friend of mine too, and it was just a great dynamic having the 3 of us in the shop, getting to just talk all day, just really enjoy each other's company, get to know each other. When Austin left, we replaced him with Wags. If you remember No Skips, the travel video that I made, the guy with 20,000 records, the world-renowned DJ, Wags, he is actually helping out at the shop part-time now, so I get to hang out with him as well. So Wags, Goose, and myself, the dream team, hanging out. It's really a joy to kind of have this energy in this store every day where we get to kind of, be friends working towards a common goal. The second reason is kind of an adjunct to that. It is getting to build a community. So I moved here to Portland in 2020, and I didn't really know many people. I didn't know how I was going to integrate myself into this community, especially the music community, which is something important to me as a lifelong music fan. Building this store from scratch and seeing people come and then come back and, eventually start to become regulars and then start to become friends. It's really an interesting phenomenon that every time it happens, it's very exciting for me because it shows that not only do these people like what I'm doing, they seem to like me and they want to get to know me as a person outside of just the guy who helps them find really great records. And I feel the same for them. There are so many regulars that come in that I do consider friends now because I've learned about them and their families and their pets and their love lives and whatever they want to talk about. Sometimes it feels like being a therapist at times when certain people come in and they just kind of talk to you about things in their life. For the most part, it's pretty fun. Sometimes, it can be a little much depending on who it is. Usually it's a very positive thing where I get to share my thoughts on someone's life where maybe I'm not directly involved, but I can maybe give them some advice or some thoughts, and it's kind of fun. It also sometimes feels like a sitcom. Sometimes there's certain personalities and characters that come in frequently that, it's funny. I really do wish that sometimes I had a camera on at all times at the store that was recording so I could cut together a highlight reel of some of the hilarious conversations and characters that do come in on a regular basis. But ultimately, I will say it is just really cool to build a community. It genuinely feels like we're doing something special out here, and as it continues to succeed, it just makes me feel like I'm on the right path. Number 3 is getting to listen to 40 hours of vinyl a week. That's kind of crazy when you think about it. So in the shop, with some rare exceptions, we are constantly spinning records. From the moment we open to the moment we close, they're putting on records back to back to back. So it allows me to kind of go through occasionally some stuff from my personal collection backlog, but not super frequently, because every time I do that, for some reason, I'll bring a record from home that I have no intention of selling, and that's the record that someone in the store will be like, oh, hey, is that for sale? And then I'll tell them no, and I feel like a jerk. But oftentimes, it's going through stuff in the store that I'm like, do I want this? Am I interested in this? And kind of testing it out just to kind of see if that's something I do want to take home and add to my collection. Sometimes it's a record that I just heard about that I was curious about, and it's in the store. Someone traded it in, and we got it in a collection, and that's a good excuse to give it a listen and kind of educate myself. The amount of education I have had in terms of different genres, eras of music is it's insane since opening the store. I have opened myself up to so many genres that I was not familiar with, from classic country to jazz to funk to soul. I'm really kind of learning so much more. Also, a lot about metal and punk. I feel like as a music listener, I am so much more well-rounded now that I own this store, because all week I'm just immersing myself in different music that I wouldn't normally listen to or buy from my personal collection. That being said, there's a flip side of this coin, and I have talked about this before a little bit. Around me, in this room, there's like 4,000 records of my personal collection that I've curated over a decade that I'm super proud of. I think this is a really, really good collection. It's a really good representation of my music taste, but it's also just, I think, a really good collection of music. I'm biased, of course, but I don't listen to it as much as I used to before owning the record store. When I listen to 40 hours of music a week, I don't come home and want to listen to a record. It's a very weird phenomenon, and I still do listen to records, but the rate is significantly less than it was in 2021 and before. So that's something I'm kind of grappling with. It also allows me to justify bringing cool stuff from my collection into the store to kind of add some more flavor of things that might not ever get traded in, but would be really cool to see in a record store. So that's kind of something I'm still kind of understanding as well. And in that vein, this kind of goes with that as well. First access to just unbelievably crazy records. Whether it's a collection we buy or a walk-in trade, I have seen some wild records over the years that have just come in the door, and I've had to wrestle with myself about whether or not to take them home. And oftentimes, because I have so much rent to pay between here and the store and my employees and all of the overhead, I can very easily, for the most part, justify putting things in the store. But there are some things that I just can't resist taking home. Some of the things that kind of came into mind just when I'm talking about this now, I haven't thought about it too hard, is first press of Gabor Sabo Dreams, really clean. Sister Nancy 1-2, an absolutely classic reggae record that is super hard to find. Like, certain things where I'm like, am I ever going to see this again? Someone traded in recently a Massive Attack 100th Window. I love Massive Attack. I've seen that in a store like once, and it's never had a repress. So yeah, I had to take it home. It also allows me to upgrade certain copies. Maybe I have a record and there's a better pressing or a better, cleaner version of my pressing that comes in. That means I just take that and I can replace it in the store with my copy from my collection. So there's kind of that endless upgrading thing that happens. But it's really cool to have access to records, as long as you have some level of self-control, which shockingly I think I do. It's a really big perk of owning a record store, is getting a chance to kind of see things that you may never see, because either they hit another store and are immediately sold, or other store owners would keep them for themselves. So there's certain things that just pop up where you're just like, wow, this is wild. I feel like I need to take this. And if I don't take it, at least I get to listen to it, which is kind of cool too. And the fifth reason for this video is getting to do in-store performances. We don't do them that frequently. I would say on average, we do it maybe once a month, with maybe a little less frequency over the past maybe 8 months or so. What I love about the store is that it is perfectly set up for intimate performances. We can fit about 35 people in there. Goose is an engineer by trade, so he engineers all the live shows, so they sound amazing. We got super lucky with the space, and the shows themselves just sound great based on the layout of the store, let alone Goose, tinkering with all of the things that make the show sound buttoned up. It is so cool to see all different kinds of bands come through the shop and bring their fans and kind of have a moment, an evening of just special music playing in my shop. It makes me happy every single time. I always sit back and look at the room, and I'm just so grateful that I'm able to provide the stage, figuratively and literally, for these bands to be able to share their music with their fans locally. What's also cool is that our unique value proposition is that we kick back a fully mixed recording from the DAW to these bands, so they now have a live performance that sounds great that they can use on Bandcamp or use it to show different venues what they're capable of if they're trying to book themselves on certain bills or whatnot. So it is a really cool thing. And I don't think a lot of places do this, but I do think it's a cool thing that we do. We've had everything from like hip-hop artists to 7-piece neo-soul collectives to folk artists to singer-songwriters to thrash metal to punk. We've done so many genres in the shop, and they all are such fun, exciting experiences every single time. So part of what I wanted to do when I opened a record store was have a place for in-store performances, and I'm just really glad that they're happening and people seem to like them, and I'm excited to see what happens next. Ultimately, a goal of mine would be to eventually do secret shows or little intimate private performances by artists that I love, kind of bigger named artists that might want to utilize my shop to have a special moment with some, selected fans. So that would be something very cool that I'm trying to work towards down the road. Those are the 5 things that I think make my job awesome and are the best parts of owning a record store. I would love to get any of your thoughts on what I said, or if you own a store, what are your favorite things about owning a record store? I'd love to see what other store owners have to say in the comments below. But I hope this was a fun little behind the curtain of my day-to-day and kind of my thought process behind owning a record store now that I'm 2.5 years in almost. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and there's more coming soon. So take it easy.